I'm
All right, so
sorry.
it's okay.
That
I
ship
don't
was
I don't
sailed.
see I don't see who's going to be bringing the fresh ideas back on offense. It seems like that's an issue there. Maybe they'll find a way, but on defense, they hired Raheem Morris, who is not Gus Bradley. I think that's the best thing you could say about. Well, I don't know. What do you think about Raheem Morris? He's not necessarily from the Sala tree. He's very good friends with Kyle Shanahan. He's been around the league and run a bunch of different things. What are your thoughts on this hire?
You know, it's not about friendship, okay? He needs to think about football. And, you know, has Raheem Morris ever had a top 10 defense? Has he ever
No.
had, uh, he did have sacks and he did have some interceptions this last year.
Yep.
That's a positive. Of course, now they went out and drafted a couple of high picks as edge rushers, if I'm not mistaken, and they had
Yep.
some good results with 9 or 10 sacks, things like that. So he brought in some speed and some fresh legs to maybe be an impact in the rush package, of which the Niners are going to need, somebody on the edge besides a rehabilitated Bosa to be able to bring pressure on the quarterback, unless Raheem's going to say, well, we're going to have pressure packages also, and we're going to play some zero coverage. We're going to play bump and run. We're playing man-to-man. But then does that fit with Kyle's constitution mentally? Is he going to be able to live with the fact when I look out there in the field and I see corners lined up and bump and run? And I look behind
he
him.
couldn't live with that when Steve Wilks tried it a couple of years ago.
But see, that was a one and done situation,
Yeah.
I think he got nailed right before halftime against the Vikings, I think, on a big play. And after that, Kyle went bananas.
That's correct.
And see, you play bump and run, you got to understand something. You are going to give up a few big plays because your corner is not going to always win versus, but we had Hayes and Haynes, 2 Hall of Fame corners playing. And I tell you, as great as they were, hey, sometimes, the opponent, give them credit. They're professionals also. They're going to make a throw and a catch. There are more great catches than there are great throws. And you've seen a few. Just look at Puka and a few other guys in the league. You see some phenomenal athletes at wide receiver making great catches. But by the same token, look at the percentage of those deep throws. Most teams are happy to get 3 out of 9, 3 out of 10, connecting on a deep throw. Now they throw the fade, the back shoulder fade. They throw the fade stop. So there's a lot about which you have to be concerned. But if you cannot shut down a defense with an offense with your front 7, you're going to have to bring a safety into play, which means you're going to be single high. Are you going to be a single high 3 deep zone or single high cover 1 free or open free? That kind of thing where you play your cover 1 based upon formation and you would play a 1 adjust concept. That's going to require, you cannot play 3 deep zone and think you're going to drive a path to the Super Bowl. That is playing vanilla defense is not going to get it done. And if you can't rush 4 and get there, you're going to have to send 5 or send 6, which means you're going to play a fire zone scheme and play 3 under 3 deep, or you're going to play man free, cover 1, whether you play off or bump. Still, you're going to have to play man coverage.
It seems like, although we were praising Robert Saleh all year for getting the defense to punch above its weight, it seems like maybe Kyle Shanahan was a little unsatisfied with the defense. No sacks, no turnovers. Now you replace him, instead of with his understudy, Gus Bradley, you replace him with someone who had a bunch of sacks last year and a bunch of takeaways. Seems like maybe what the Niners are hoping to do is build a team that has a dominant offense and a complementary defense that can at least get some big plays here and there, get the ball back to the Niners offense so that they can win the game, which is not how they were built, when Jimmy Garoppolo was the quarterback 6 years ago. It was much more of a complementary offense with a dominant defense. Does that make sense?
The thing about it, and I think Seattle proved that, defense does win. I hate to say it. When you can construct a front 4, which can put pressure on the quarterback and have good pass rushers, but at the same time, they are so stout with the interior of their defensive front that they can shut down the run, and you don't have to add an eighth player in the box, you're going to cause problems for 95% of the offenses in the NFL. I tell you, the thing about it is, a lot of teams nowadays are a one gap defense, which requires a safety to be down as the eighth player in the box. Not too many teams can two gap anymore. When we used to run
but the Seahawks can.
But they can out of a four-man front. So now they can say, well, I'm going to have a defensive tackle be a two-gap player, or I may have a five technique be a two-gap player, or I may have my Mike linebacker be a two-gap player. Kind of the old concept of a three-man front with four linebackers where you can change up who the two-gap defender was, so you did not have to bring a safety into the box to be the eighth defender for the eighth gap. But now also, here's another issue, Grant. And the Rams are the one team which kind of flooded the market, so to speak, with this set where they went to 13 personnel. All of a sudden, you got a lot more than 8 gaps about which you have to be concerned. So now you're talking about, sometimes you'll see 3 tight ends aligned side by side. Sometimes you'll see 1 on the weak side and 2 on the strong side, 1 wide receiver in the back, and then they're motioning a wide receiver or the tight end across the formation to get to a heavy load. Some teams substitute in the 6th offensive lineman and play him on the backside in the closed set or on the wing, even on the front side. Some of them are catching balls in the passing game as well on play action stuff.
Yeah, Ben Johnson does that all the time.
Yeah. And see, that way you're going to create some muscle and some mass at the point, which will negate a team from just being able to play with 4 down linemen and dominating.
This is what Vic Fangio did with the Niners front 15 years ago when Jim Harbaugh was the coach. They had that 5-man line. Ray McDonald was 2-gapping while Justin Smith was not. And it's interesting that for the last 10 years, Kyle's been so obsessed with the 1-gap defense, but that seems a little outdated because you got to bring the 8th guy in the box or you're not going to be good against the run. And you find these other defenses, which are like Vic Fangio inspired, which are able to shut down the run without bringing down the safety with a 5-man front. And the counter is what Sean McVay's doing. Lots of tight ends, and it's not what Kyle Shanahan's doing.
Well, think about this now. Kyle wants a defense like his offense has been successful attacking for years. He wants a single safety high concept where it's a cover 3 or a cover 1 because all of his offensive concepts are geared to attacking that style of play. He's friendly with it. He knows it. He feels comfortable with it. So he wants to see it on the other side of the ball.
Yep.
Kyle needs to spend time investigating how do I attack the cover 2 and the cover 4 shells. I need to come up with game plans and designs to beat those schemes.
Because what he says is like, we got to run the ball. Like, that's all you got? That's all you got? Right? That's what he said. That's what he said in the pregame for the Super. Hey, man, when they have those safeties real deep, well, you got to run the ball 40 times. Really? Okay. I can say that.
You can find that answer on the back of a box of cereals. Remember in the old
that's what I'm saying.
When your father was still young, we remember in the old days you could get a box of Cracker Jacks may have an answer in the box of Cracker Jacks better than what Kyle gave on TV the other day. Come on, Kyle.
What do you do against a light box? Run it. Yeah, okay. But what if you can't do that either?
Well, you better look at your personnel. Okay, that's key number 1. See, that's where the Niners have some real work to do this offseason. They not only have to analyze what they're doing offensively and defensively and make some adjustments, but they've got to decide who do we need in terms of personnel additions to the roster to be able to defeat the Rams, to defeat the Seahawks, to defeat the Bears, or whomever else we're going to be playing this next season so that we can win. And they have I tell you what, they have work to do. It's not going to be on the golf course. It's not going to be in Cabo. It's going to be sitting in an office. It'll be John Lynch or whomever is in charge of making the draft picks, coming up with a draft board with the players who they need, who are medically healthy, not medical red shirts, who are not reaches, and making some good decisions.